Guys, I don't know if I should react to this, but I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see. I want to learn from the infographics show. We're gonna watch this. We're gonna see what we see. Um, if you think I should never do stuff like this ever again, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the stream. But if we can learn together, also let me know if you think it's good or bad.
Just 2 milligrams of fentanyl can kill you in a matter of minutes. That's the same size as a few grains of sand. And worse, not all
few
fentanyl
grains
is
of
the same.
sand.
At this very moment, masked men in homemade labs are cooking up newer and even more lethal versions of fentanyl, and those literal chemical weapons are headed straight to the USA. It is this ever-expanding synthetic nightmare that we'll discuss in today's episode of the Infographic Show. What does fentanyl do to your body? Sadly,
I love the change in content. This is the thing, guys, is like when we do IRL streams, it's happy-go-lucky skating, hanging out with Rick, whatever. I think React's channel, the whole anti-Scientology arc made it interesting. And like, yeah, maybe React's channel, we don't want to just watch Jagger Eaton video part. Maybe we do want to try to... what I was thinking is like, we'll see how this goes. But what I was thinking is like, we watch things where I'm learning. So like, my value that I'm adding is my perspective as I learn and we discuss it. Because other things that I know a lot about, like skating, or maybe even like content type stuff, you know, there I have expertise to offer or whatever. But in these scenarios, I think we can learn together. And I think that could be a fun avenue. If this fails, I'll never do it again, right? But yeah, branch out. Yes, I feel like React channel has potential. A lot of people are saying, Ricky, I really love the reactions. I think you're doing really good. I think having the open mind and giving my perspectives could be fun. And I think let's follow the thread and experiment a little bit and don't necessarily just cap ourselves with like skate reactions. So that's what I'm trying here. If it fails, it fails. Who knows? But Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of shots you don't take. Whatever other motivational quotes, blah, blah, blah. Let's watch.
There are people out there who seek the strongest opioids, despite the DEA's warnings that fentanyl is killing Americans at an unprecedented rate. Many who take it are unaware of its deadly potential. In 2022, a group of teenagers bought what they thought was a fairly mild prescription opioid pill, Percocet, when in fact their perks had been contaminated with fentanyl. One of the teens, a 15-year-old girl, was found dead in the bathroom at Bernstein High School in Hollywood. 2 more teens were discovered unconscious at the nearby Lexington Park. They had no idea the pills they dropped were 33 to 66 times stronger than the ones they thought they had bought. As you'll see later in this video, this kind of thing is happening all over the USA and to a lesser extent in Europe. Experts are calling it the 4th wave of the opioid crisis. The first wave to wash over America's shores was in the 1990s and the early 2000s, when unscrupulous pharmaceutical companies came out with new opioid drugs. Physicians started overprescribing them for general pain management, paving the way for widespread misuse. Patients with conditions like back pain were prescribed powerful opioids, drugs that in some cases had addictive properties comparable to heroin. This approach...
When I had knee surgery, they gave me morphine, which is like opioid based. And it made me feel really uneasy and anxious. And I, like, while I had the surgery or whatever, I had like a button to press it. And I was like, I do not want to do that again. I felt not good.
Led to devastating consequences.
But it is kind of crazy.
Millions of Americans, with the impact still being felt today. Pharmaceutical companies took advantage of the unique ability to advertise directly to consumers, painting the picture of blissful pain relief.
I had lung surgery and they gave me ibuprofen and Vicodin. I think Vicodin, when I hear the word Vicodin, all I think of is Dr. Gregory House, because that wasn't the character always taking Vicodin. Have I ever seen the show Dope Sick? It details opioid crisis pretty good. I mean, is the opioid crisis the thread I want to follow? I was just curious to learn about this because it's such a, I don't know, infiltrating society in the modern age. I'm curious to understand it a little bit more.
This led to over 255 million opioid prescriptions in 2012.
When I had my Penix morphine, made me feel normal.
Contributing to a nationwide epidemic that affected 12.5 million Americans. The second wave, starting in 2010, saw a huge increase in heroin overdoses. This included many of the people who'd become addicted to prescription opioids. When their prescription sources dried up, many who had become addicted to opioids turned to heroin, experiencing the harsh realities of addiction. Then came the third wave, the rise in synthetic opioid deaths, including those from fentanyl. The fourth wave that's currently making a toxic splash is when fentanyl or something similar ends up killing someone when that person had no idea the drug they took contained one of those super strong synthetics. Later, we'll discuss
But
something.
what, I don't really understand. I mean, I don't know anything about drugs that much, but like heroin is like a naturally thing, and then fentanyl is synthetic heroin. Is that basically what they're saying? Like, I don't. What does that even mean? Synthetic? Doesn't everything come from like to make something? You have to make it out of something. Like, how does that make sense? I don't really understand.
Even stronger than fentanyl. But at first, let's have a look at some numbers. In the
Fentanyl
late
is stronger?
1970s,
Yeah, I knew
America
that.
was in the middle of a deadly silent crisis. Each year, around 3,000 Americans suffered lethal overdoses. Despite the Just Say No campaign in the 1980s, overdoses continued to climb from around 2,500 to 5,000 a year. The numbers began to skyrocket, from just over 17,000 deaths in 2000 to a staggering 91,000 by 2020, a surge that would only get worse. By 2022, the death toll reached a grim milestone of just over 111,000, an all-time high. Fentanyl was involved in over 76,000 lethal overdoses in 2022, around 75,000 in 2023. The question is, why would anyone knowingly take this stuff?
That's what I was confused, is that like there's, I feel like there's two ways people die. One, they think they're doing other drugs and it has fentanyl in it and they take it and they die. The other one is they're actively trying to take fentanyl, but they're just trying to take just enough to not die. That is what confuses me.
Like all opioids, fentanyl is a very dangerous pleasure generator that provides a high the user can't escape, even when it's tearing their life apart. Opioids trigger a release of one of the brain's so-called happy chemicals, dopamine. You get a rush of dopamine from an orgasm or from winning a game. But opioids are like...
They just throw the gamer in here. Damn. They just chuck the gamer in there? Couldn't they have said having some achievement in your life rather than saying winning a game?
You get a rush of dopamine from an orgasm or from winning a game. But opioids are like a cheat system that floods your brain with torrents of dopamine. The dopamine also floods into a part of your brain responsible for controlling fear and anxiety, the amygdala, making the user feel relaxed. Who wouldn't like that? Answer: about 60 million people worldwide who currently take some kind of opioid. The majority of these people take their opioid prescription for chronic pain, often end-of-life pain. When you're in pain, your body releases stress-relieving hormones, natural opioids in your brain called endorphins. Opioid drugs mimic natural endorphins by blocking pain signals and elevating mood. Those with a history of trauma are especially vulnerable to opioid dependence. Smoking fentanyl is far deadlier than traditional heroin, even in small doses. In a recent study, people who injected fentanyl were 40%
This
more
video is crazy.
likely than smokers to overdose. Still, in 2024, it was reported that in the US there are now more fatal smoking drug deaths than injecting deaths, and that's because of fentanyl. Fentanyl is often mixed with heroin, increasing the risk of fatal overdoses. One Massachusetts user said he always knows when his heroin
One Massachusetts user.
is mixed with
Better not be
fentanyl
Mike.
because it tastes sweet. Probably because it was cut with sugar, but it's not always easy to know what you're taking. Different opioids have different mechanisms of action. Some give less euphoria and better.
The voiceover sounds like AI reading a script. No, this channel's been successful for a long time. This is like someone's voice. This is not AI. AI is kind of annoying because now everyone thinks everything's AI. Like this was why would this need to be AI? This is a super well-researched video and then a guy reads it. Is it the guy that's doing the research? Maybe not. It's probably just the voice actor, whatever. But still, like, look, I bet you this is the same voice.
This video was made possible by
Wait, that was the intro.
brooding mother. Let's have a look at how this division started. In this episode,
That's the same voice 6 years ago. Boom, no AI.
Pain relief, but the ones on the streets, including fentanyl, are the ones that create the most bliss. Fentanyl hits faster and leaves your body faster, so you quickly need more. A long-term user explained, "The rush is way better than heroin, but it only lasts a couple of hours and then you're sick again. Heroin will last half a day." Another said, "You really feel like you're King Kong or Godzilla. The rush is 10 times stronger." Many users say they don't like the synthetic feeling, and for some, the high risk of dying makes them prefer using heroin. Opioid withdrawal can feel
Choosing to use heroin because it's safer is bro, no. Oh my goodness.
like your body is betraying you. It's not just the physical symptoms, vomiting, sweats, and restless legs that hit hard. The emotional roller coaster, like all your pain coming back at once, feels unbearable. And while the worst of the physical symptoms might only last for a few days,
Safety
the
first,
emotional wounds
Jesus
can last
Christ.
much longer. For fentanyl users, the symptoms might hit faster, but it's the speed that makes it even more dangerous. What makes fentanyl terrifying is it's not just the high, it's the fact that you can be breathing one moment, and in less than 2 minutes you could be dead. 2 minutes, just like that. And if you mix your fentanyl with other drugs that work on the central nervous system, such as alcohol and benzodiazepines, your game of Russian roulette just added 2 more bullets. And while we're talking about Russian roulette, there's a drug the DEA has called the deadliest drug the US has ever faced. It's called xylazine, or tranq, but you might know it by its street name, zombie drug. Its strong sedative qualities often leave users with their bodies slumped, arms dangling, and their face seemingly in zombie mode.
Yeah, okay, I want to understand this. How are they standing up? Okay, I gotta lock in and understand this.
Just added 2 more bullets. And while we're talking about Russian roulette, there's a drug the DEA has called the deadliest drug the US has ever faced. It's called xylazine, or tranq, but you might know it by its street name, zombie drug. Its strong sedative qualities often leave users with their bodies slumped, arms dangling, and their face seemingly in zombie mode due to the muscles not functioning properly. Xylazine is very cheap, only $6 to $20 for a kilo of the raw powder. So
a kilo? What? $6 a kilo?
Heroin or fentanyl, and a person can disappear.
I mean,
that
you can't even buy sugar for that cheap.
Of dollars. Originally used to sedate animals, especially horses, xylazine has now invaded America's most dystopian neighborhoods, like Kensington, Philadelphia, also famously known as the Walmart of heroin. Here, around 90% of the drug supply is laced with xylazine. The purity of the fentanyl there is also relatively high, usually around 15%. The problem is many of the chemicals needed to make fentanyl and other synthetics are found in agrochemicals and regular pharmaceuticals. It takes cartels a few hours in homemade labs to do what used to take months of labor in poppy fields. They produce much smaller amounts that are easier to traffic and harder for the authorities to detect. Recently in Tijuana, a lab was busted, and along with kilos of fentanyl powder were presses to make the tablets. The prices of fentanyl on the streets have hit shocking lows, especially when you consider its devastating impact. Depending on where you're buying, single pills can cost as little as 50
cents? What's the point? What the fuck? 50 cents? If I go to the grocery store, there's 0 items I can buy for 50 cents. 0. There's 0 items in the store for sale for 50 cents. A fucking bag costs 15 cents. I buy 3 bags, I'm out 45 cents.
But they generally go for $3 to $5. In San Francisco, an addict said a tenth of a gram of fentanyl powder might cost $5 to $10. Occasionally, you might see high-quality stuff going for $25 or more. Of course, that's not pure fentanyl. Compare that to heroin, where a tenth of a gram will set most Americans back about $15. Sometimes less, sometimes more. Recently, fentanyl in San Francisco, usually 5% to 10% purity, went from being $100 there for a tenth of a gram bag in 2022 to $60 for 3 in 2023.
Yeah, that's what I more would have thought it is. But what, 10% purity? What the hell is it then?
Price drop shows how cheap and accessible the drug has become. And this just fuels the opioid crisis and makes it harder for law enforcement and health officials to keep up. Getting high has never been so cheap in the US, and so deadly. Some of the worst places for overdoses have been Alaska, West Virginia, Rhode Island, Hawaii, and California. In California from 2021 to 2023, fentanyl seizures went up from a street value of just $64 million to around $650 million. As for the fentanyl hotspot of Rhode Island, some of the recent deaths and hospitalizations were people who had taken fentanyl-laced cocaine and even fentanyl-laced counterfeit Adderall pills. Experts said you could buy a pill with just 1% of fentanyl in it, but another pill could have 70% fentanyl. If it's the latter, you better hope you'd spent $2 on a fentanyl test strip. In 2021, in small towns on Long Island, 5 men and 1 woman died after taking fentanyl-laced cocaine in the space of a weekend. One of the fatalities was found dead, and on his phone was a text message from his friend warning him that the coke had fent in it. He was already dead by the time the message arrived. The traffickers are not intending to kill people with these fentanyl-laced pills and powder. That would be bad for business. Most people who take a contaminated line of coke or a contaminated counterfeit Xanax don't die. They're designed to be highly enjoyable, so people will come back for more. But the odds are someone, somewhere will get that little bit extra or take too much. When only 2 milligrams can kill, a little extra in a pill or a bag of Coke can make someone pass out and never come back, especially if they've drunk alcohol. Worse, there are stronger versions of fentanyl, like carfentanil, which is about 100 times more potent than just fentanyl.
100? Bro, this is making me uneasy watching this.
10,000 times stronger than morphine. That means a lethal dose might be just 20 micrograms, about the size of a grain of sand. It's believed out of about 1,400 fentanyl analogs, 12 have entered the global market. Carfentanil and another ocfentanil are both insanely strong and have been responsible for overdose deaths in the US and Europe, such as a 24-year-old man in Switzerland who ordered some powder from the dark web containing ocfentanil and was later found dead in his bedroom. There have been carfentanil deaths all over the US. Back in 2016-2017, it was responsible for about 1 in every 15 American opioid deaths. It's been found in counterfeit OxyContin, cocaine, fake Xanax, and even synthetic marijuana. It is a deadly poison that has the consolation prize of making you feel good before you nod off for eternity. The alternative can be devastating too. If someone wakes you with a shot of Narcan, your brain might have been starved of oxygen long enough to render
you don't want that.
The world is awash with these synthetic drugs, and there is no end in sight. In 2023, the DEA seized 80 million fentanyl-laced fake pills and about 12,000 pounds of fentanyl.
It's so interesting because, like, if you think back to the era of, like, the war on drugs, right? It's like, hey, don't do drugs. And then they kind of, like, for the record, drugs is bad. I think it's 100% bad. I don't really like drugs and alcohol at all. But if you think back to the war on drugs, it's kind of like, don't do drugs. And then the other side is like, hey, don't listen to the nerds. Drugs is cool. Yeah, do some drugs. But then now it's like, bro, you will die. There's nothing cool about die. What the hell? It's like the chance of die is so high. It's like everyone's unified on the team, but still everyone is dying. I wonder if, like, casual drug users, like someone that would just occasionally do cocaine or occasionally do, like, MDMA or whatever, I wonder if they completely stopped using drugs now because it's just, like, the chance of getting fentanyl and dying is, like, way too high. I would think that, like, if there's, like, some kind of a logical recreational drug user, I would think that that's what they would do. But maybe I am overthinking it as someone that doesn't do anything to do with drugs.
Powder. Enough to kill every American. With so many analogs out there that are easy to make and much easier to traffic, and with the West's seemingly insatiable demand, we might have to rethink how we fight this never-ending war on drugs. Now you need to watch new street drug that rots your skin, the zombie drug, or have a look at what happens to your brain if you smoke weed for 30 days.
Damn, that might be a good video. What happens to your brain when you smoke weed for 30 days? Man, that was intense. 50 cents a pill is insane. They have test kits? Bro, you're doing too much. Buying drugs, testing for fentanyl. Just don't do drugs. Is it that complicated? I never really got why people like drugs so much. LSD is more potent than fentanyl. You can't overdose on it. I don't know. I never really understood it. I thought, isn't it nice to just not do drugs? Drugs make you feel good. I mean, yeah, well, it's like instant gratification. It's the prime overnight shopping of happiness in your life. Click the button for instant gratification. Instead of setting out to do something and achieve and feel good, you just click activate happiness. Straight up smoking every minute for 30 days? No, I think it's just saying smoking daily. What kind of scares me is that the lethal dose is so small, someone could easily poison someone with it. How do you investigators determine the difference between intentional poisoning or accidental overdose? Yeah, I mean, if I ever overdose, I was 1,000,000% poisoned. 1,000%. But can I just go buy a hot dog and someone poisons it and I die of fentanyl overdose? Can that happen? Just a little bit of salt and pepper on it? Is that how it works? It could be dust on the counter. Is it really that how it works? I buy a hot dog, someone puts on fake salt, and I die? Is that actually real? No way. And do I just die instantly? I say, I don't feel so good. Oops, I'm dead. Have you seen Breaking Bad? Of course I've seen Breaking Bad. Should they remake Breaking Bad fentanyl version? Inhalation is a different route. I think you're responsible if you sell or give drugs to someone, they die regardless. Yeah, but I just got a random street dog. What? I'm gonna sue them? Who cares? I'm already dead. Who's gonna sue them? Like, the damage is done. Can that actually happen? Please confirm, someone. There are vids of cops accidentally ODing. What, they like search someone and then get it on their hand and then like eat a donut or something? You should check out the video where cops find fentanyl on a guy and it was so potent that touching him causes him to OD. What the fuck? Damn. That's crazy. I think we shouldn't check that out though, if I'm being honest. But yeah, guys, that was a wild ride. If you enjoyed this YouTube video, let me know if you want me to continue to make these kind of more learning about the world videos. Let me know. If you think I should never do it and I should go happy-go-lucky, I like skating, let me know.